Hi there.
Hi, how are you?
Everyone. Doing well.
Hi, Lisa. I'm Nicole Miner. Nice to meet you.
Hey, Nicole, nice to meet you.
Yeah, Danielle, I just want to second what Maureen said. Thank you for all that you're going to be doing when you come up
Oh,
our it's a it
well,
and it's appreciated.
thank you. I appreciate that, Nicole. It's been a whirlwind, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Are you outside today?
I am outside today. Life has brought me outside this morning. So,
Is it nice
um,
out? I haven't even been out yet.
it's nice out. I'm in downtown Northampton, um, outdoors and
Oh, you're home. Okay.
yeah, it's a nice day for it. So if one has to be forced outdoors, it's a good day to
Yeah.
be outdoors.
Yep. Makes sense. Hey, Nate.
Hey there. Hi, everybody.
Just letting everybody in. Folks are trickling in.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, Katie.
And just so folks know, um, Maureen is not going to be able to join us this morning. And I believe Chris is going to be a little bit late. So
Is he actually going to be able to be here? Because he said it wasn't until 2:30, based on
um,
the email that I read.
I thought it said 12:30, but I could be wrong. And I'm not sure. So if we might have we should have quorum anyway, either way.
Yeah,
I
okay.
I read that he won't be available until 12:30. So if he joins, he'll be joining late.
Okay. That's cool. So, yeah. Lisa, so we do have quorum now. So
Do you have somebody transcribing?
I see Chris's note taker on here.
Okay.
Um,
And and our meetings are automatically transcribed
oh, okay.
by
That's
Zoom. Yeah. So those all get saved in our Google Drive where the meeting recordings are. We have minutes recordings, audio recordings, captions, and the transcriptions are all saved in the same folder. So Chris should be able to see whatever was missed.
excellent.
And this also is being recorded.
Okay. So what, Maureen couldn't be here and Chris couldn't be here. So that's the last two on the last two voting members anyway. So I think we can call this meeting to order of the Belchertown Branding Committee, March 19th at 12:02 p.m. At this point, I'd ask for a roll call.
Molly Robinson, present.
Ed Knight here.
Kate
NATO here.
and Lisa
Lisa Ducharme present.
and Nate Shattuck present. Thank you. Um, so number two on the agenda, I'd like to talk about the approval of the minutes from the March 5th, 2025 meeting. I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes as written.
A motion to approve the minutes
Molly
from March
Robinson.
8th.
And we have a second.
Second.
At night, second. Okay, so any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for a vote to
Molly
approve the
Robinson,
minutes.
aye.
Ed Knight, aye.
Lisa Ducharme Abstain. I wasn't present for the meeting.
Kate Nato, aye.
And Nate Shattuck, aye. So moved. Next on the agenda is the branding project updates. So I guess I'll pass this over to Danielle for discussion.
Thank you, Nate. Thanks, everyone. Hello, welcome. We certainly have some updates today. Katie from Locality is here with us. And the primary focus of our conversation today is going to be around the upcoming site visit, which is next week. And I shared with you all by email, but I will also do a quick share screen. Take a look at our planning. So Katie will arrive next Wednesday. I'm going to pick her up at Bradley, and we're going to drive up to the valley from there. Depending on the weather, we are planning to do quite a bit of outdoor activities. So depending on the weather, we'll either head directly to Belchertown to, walk the Quabbin and do some of the other, maybe the Lake Wallace Century Trail that first afternoon. If the weather is going to be great the next day, then we might give Katie a minute to just check into the hotel, have some lunch, and then head over to Belchertown a little bit later. She's staying in Northampton. And we will then have our informal Belchertown tour before going over to the auditorium to set up for the open house. Nate, I saw that you are in charge of picking up the key to the auditorium. Do you know when you're going to be able to do that?
I will do that at some point this week.
I just want to note here that as a town employee, I do have a key to the building.
Oh, okay. Amazing.
So if Nate wants to pick one up, I'm not going to stop him. But if he's not able to get there, I already have those keys.
Fantastic. Thank you so much,
If I
Kate.
get one, we're double covered.
Yep,
Great.
that's always helpful.
So Katie and I were hoping to get into the auditorium at 5 just to get everything set up, get acclimated to the space. So whether it's Kate or Nate, we will coordinate with one of you for the keys to let us in. And then we will have the open house from 6 to 7:30. And I'm not sure what the protocol on this is, but Katie and I are going to go to Masa Mexicano afterwards to, enjoy some Mexican food and just debrief how things went. So I'll just name that's where we're going to be. And if anyone else wants to show up and break bread with us and not necessarily have any kind of discussion, I'll just name that's what we're going to plan to do. And then I'll be bringing Katie back to the hotel. The next morning, we will resume our Belchertown tour. And this is where we have a little bit of an up in the air. I did email Steve and Kate and Terry about having some kind of a staff Q&A or meet and greet. That is still an option. I haven't heard back from folks if that's of interest, but Katie is willing to do a Q&A or a meet and greet just with town staff. So we might try to find a spot in the municipal building to post up and just have her kind of hold like an office hour drop-in session. We're waiting to hear from folks about whether or not they'd like to participate and how to get the word out about that. So I don't know if anyone wants to weigh in on that now.
I think it's an important meeting to have. My office hours this week have been extremely limited. And I did see your email come through, and I was kind of hoping that someone else on that thread would have jumped in. But I can certainly send a follow-up message now about that.
Well, Kate, we had suggested, while we're here, we had suggested a couple of time windows. So either 10 to 11:30 or 11 to 12, is there a time that you think would work well for staff to just drop by?
I don't necessarily have a schedule, if you will, of when people go to lunch and stuff, because it really varies based on department.
Yeah.
If they're, if they're coming in the day earlier, they're lunching earlier kind of thing. So I don't necessarily know right now if there's a preference in time. But I will put that out there to them too.
Okay. Yeah, let us know because it might be as easy as just posting up and being available for folks to drop by. It won't necessarily be a formal meeting, but we do want to let folks know that Katie is in town and
Mhm.
here to answer questions and share more about her process, especially if folks don't necessarily are not able to make it from 6 to 7:30 the night prior, right? We want to be able to meet staff during their work
Yep,
day if possible.
absolutely.
Okay, so thank you for that. And if you have suggestions on an area where that would be good to do, we can post up on the common. We can see if if anyone can lend us an office or a conference room
No, we should be
that's
able
central.
to use the auditorium during that time.
Okay.
Like the Melissa and Pam and Steve's office would know best if anybody has that already booked. But yeah, that should be the easiest space. But there's a bunch of conference rooms in there, and they're
Okay.
generally free during the workday.
Okay, great. I can follow up with Melissa and Pam and see what the availability is that day. And then
Okay.
I'll ask Steve to, I'll wait to hear from you, Kate, on a good time. And then I'll ask Steve to just send an all staff email letting folks know that we're going to be available at that time.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
And then Kate also made a great suggestion to meet with two really important figures in town. So I don't know, Kate, if you want to share your suggestions for additional meetings.
I can't right now because that project has not been disclosed yet.
Oh, right. But just uh
Nope.
okay. Well, we might meet with some other folks in town. Just all I wanted to name on that front without disclosing anything else. But um and then the suggestions have really poured in for stops on our tour. So I'll just share screen with folks again. These are some of the places that we're planning to um pop by. And if anyone has any other ideas, I welcome feedback, but the Quabbin was high on the list. Visiting the Common, Town Hall, obviously, library, state school grounds, the beach, Austin Farms, the church, police station, Swift River, some of the sportsman clubs, sugar houses, just the farms on the back roads, just driving around town, hitting the sensory tour, Stonehouse Museum, local cemeteries, and then we have some restaurants. But I welcome any other suggestions for places to visit.
I had said cemetery, and maybe you still want to go there, but my reasoning was because I thought there were headstones in the seal, and then Ed informed me that those are actually like distance markers in that seal.
Yes.
So, yeah, maybe you still want to go to cemeteries, but whatever.
We could still hit the cemeteries, but yeah.
You guys,
I think
are you guys going to any of the orchards?
I was going to suggest Cold Spring Orchard on.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
okay.
I was thinking Metacom Lake. Is that too far?
That's Belchertown Beach. It's one,
Oh,
you know, it's
that's
one of
what
the,
you call it.
it's one
No,
of,
that
it's one of the three lakes,
the beach is on Arcadia.
right? It's one of the three lakes. Molly had mentioned a carriage, and I wanted to ask Ed or Nate, is there a carriage of sorts in the old firehouse?
Horse-drawn, no.
Okay.
I
But
think to
there
answer, yeah, Ed, you're going to talk about the Stonehouse, right?
in the Ford Annex at the Stonehouse is a stagecoach. There is a hearse, and I don't remember if there's a third one. Nate, you remember?
There may be a third one. Not sure, but
But definitely a stagecoach and a hearse.
that
Yeah, and
fire.
it might be worth making plans to go to the Stonehouse. You might have to make an appointment with them to get a tour of the Stonehouse because you'll be able to see a lot of the town history in there too.
Okay.
Same with
great.
the firefighter museum.
I can take them into the firefighter museum. Just need to know when and when.
If you have availability, Ed, either on Wednesday afternoon or Thursday morning.
Most likely either would work.
Okay. I can email you after this to set up a time. That'd be great.
Okay.
Looks like Jen, you have your hand up.
Yeah, sorry, I put some additional places in the chat, but there's Conside, McPherson Garden, and if you're going back in the Carriage Grove, make sure to go to Lamson Brook, like where Nesby is.
Gonna pull these into the doc. Thank you, Jen. Okay.
I don't know that the fish hatcheries in town too. I guess that's something that associated with Quabbin, but it's in the state. But
We're gonna need to plot this all on a map so that you're efficient.
We will. I know
lot of
there's a
space.
lot. There's a lot of ground to cover.
Holland
I
Glen,
hope the weather is perfect.
that's on Route 9.
I'm glad you guys brought up the Stonehouse Museum. You'll see what I'm going to show you later, but I was digging into the history and I was like, okay, I have to swing by there. That's where everything is held.
Is there going to be for these particular locations, because I've noticed you have 4 of the restaurants or eatery places that you have, but we don't have places like Chubb's that have been here like almost forever. Or Chubby or Checkers, whatever the name is down the road. But I know we have a lot of food places. Is there something that you're going to put together that when you list all of these areas out, where you're going to explain why they're reasons to talk about or hit in Belchertown?
So this is really just research for Katie. This isn't anything public. This isn't a tour that we're putting together for anyone. These are just recommendations that we've crowdsourced from folks for what should Katie see and take in while she's in town so that she can do the design work later. We're not making these recommendations to the public. I mean, I think maybe in the storytelling of the logo, if any of these sites make their way in, or the iconography of these sites make their way in, that story will be told. But you know, these were just recommendations that folks shared with us.
Okay.
And the
okay.
food stuff is just like, if we get hungry, where should we eat? Not necessarily.
Yeah. That was my curiosity, because you had Crispies, which is extremely new. And then you didn't list some of the other ones. So I was curious if there was a Belchertown reason behind them being on this tour list, which is where my question was. Because I think sometimes having the information from an individual perspective for the historical side, like when they came here to Belchertown to do the ghost story on our library kind of thing.
These were just recommendations, but if you have other recommendations that happen to be open during the time that we're visiting, because that's another open hours question, welcome any food recommendations or other destinations that you think we should stop at.
You could add Arc Point Brewery on here. They're one of the newer businesses, veteran owned. It's with a C. I think we'd probably miss it. They have like a trivia night on Wednesdays, but I want to say it'll be done before.
It's 6:30 to 8-ish trivia.
Yeah, something like that. And they have food trucks. I don't know if they'd have it on Wednesday, or you can get food from Checkers, like delivered over there. So they have this like unique partnership going on with another business. So just an option.
Cool. All right, thank you. Well, if anyone thinks of anything else that's a must visit, please feel free to email Katie and I. We're going to be really putting this map together so that we're using our time efficiently over the next couple of days. And now I'll share the open house plan. So I'm just going to share my screen one more time. So as I mentioned, the open house is next Wednesday, 6 to 7:30. We will be doing setup from 5 to 6 with Maud as well, who's going to be setting up for Stantec. And these are just some logistics, but there are a couple of activities that we have planned. So the first quote unquote activity is making the survey available. So we will have some printed copies available if there are folks that aren't comfortable taking the survey on screens. Ideally, we'd like to limit it because we're going to have to manually enter all of that data digitally, but we do want to make sure there's some available for accessibility purposes. We'll have a QR code to the digital survey for folks to take on site, and we'll also have a leave behind with QR codes for folks to take the survey or take it with them to share with others or put up in their businesses. There will be informational boards from both locality and Stantec. Katie is going to share more about those information boards with you all now, but in brief, there's going to be a welcome. There's going to be a little something on town history, a little something on what a logo can do for the town and like why this is a significant economic development strategy. And then there will be 2 interactive boards. One is going to be one where we solicit feedback from the community, where we ask them to tell us in a word or 2, what does Belchertown mean to you? Another is going to be one where we crowdsource voting and folks will vote on mood boards, which Katie will share. And then this is a question for discussion, and we'll get to this in just a minute. But the last board idea was to show some of the non-official versions of the seal that are floating around, and then if we get approval to show the actual seal, we could show the actual seal, or even just name that none of these are the actual seal. The actual seal is a metal object that's locked away in the clerk's office that we don't normally have access to. But this is a little bit of information on the seal. Katie, do you want to share more about the boards, and then we can get into the role of committee members at the event?
Sure. I have them pulled up if you want to. Let
you share screen.
All right. Can you all see this okay? So yeah, hi everyone. Again, it's been a little while. Danielle kind of talked about what the boards will be. This is kind of what I put together, but these are all open for any changes or edits or thoughts that you guys have. We wanted to kind of preview them with you first. A lot of this information is already existing somewhere, but it's just kind of gathering it all in one place for the actual open house. So this page basically has everything from the flyer handout that we made, the project websites, the FAQs on there. I kind of pulled the top FAQs I thought that we would get. And obviously these boards are focusing on just the branding side of the project. And Stantec will have their own boards. So I'll just kind of go through them, and feel free to stop me, call out anything you see.
Can I just point out a grammar item? Under wayfinding project in blue, it says led by consulting Stantec. I think you want to put the word firm in there.
Yep. Thanks for that catch. Yeah, and you'll see some of these aren't even complete yet. So, but thank you, because I might need that here and there. Okay, so this board compared to the others is a bit thorough. And I can send it for full review. But all of this text is taken from the websites, the town website's history. Definitely condensed into the things I kind of thought were the most both well-known but also kind of unique parts of the history. So I can send this around. We're going to talk about who might be around this board in the next portion of this meeting, but we thought it would be nice for everyone to see the history and kind of know that we put the work in to understand the town's background. The next one, this one I'm still working on, you can see, but kind of the main kind of results of what a brand can do for a town. Again, a lot of this will be taken from existing verbiage that we already have put out there, but I'll add kind of my expertise and experience as well with these different kind of key topics. This is one of our simple interactive boards about just getting people to write what Belchertown means to them. And this is probably the most important one I'm looking for feedback from the committee right now. So but since we don't want to put any kind of peer logos up and we don't want to put any initial designs up where people can get really finicky about very tiny things. We thought, let's do mood boards and see if the town is kind of gravitating in a certain way. So you can probably tell slight themes from each of these that I kind of put together from our research and conversation so far. But I'd love if anyone has any thoughts about changing these up in any way. If any photos are definitely not, the vibe at all. We open any comments.
And just for a little added context, I don't know, Katie, if you want to share what your vision was for the difference between all three that we chatted about.
Sure. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I should kind of put that out there. You guys can probably feel it and tell with them, but the first just being a little bit more vibrant, colorful, and more modern-esque. The center one being a bit more focused on history, kind of grounded in the roots of the town, and the last one being focused on nature and outdoors, and the quabbin, those blues and greens that are existing in the town identity right now.
Can I ask a question to anybody? Because I couldn't figure it out on my own. What is the two sentence pitch for Belchertown? Because each one of these graphics gives you a completely different feel, which is beautiful. But I'm trying to figure out what the pitch is for Belchertown. Is it the outdoors? Is it the history? Is it a combination of all? The first one, I like all three. All three are, like you said, distinctively different. But I'm trying to figure out what the pitch is.
I think your question is this project as well. Yes, of course, all three of these are Belchertown. I think it's to see what people gravitate towards visually more than the pitch or the story. So when we come down to creating a logo and picking, any imagery, any fonts, any colors, we can we'll try and pull these all in if they, equally get voted on. But let's say everybody goes towards nature or the nature focused one, then that might tell us, oh, we should lean heavy into those greens and blues. Let's say we want to see what really visually speaks to people right now. And I think that pitch exactly what you're talking about. We all know what's there and what it's probably going to be a mix of, like these three boards, but it's kind of refining it and picking those 1 to 2 things that come out of 10 things.
So we're going with the feel first. And that's completely, I just wanted to make sure my mind was in the right place. We're going with the heart and the message. Before we go with the message, we're going with the heart.
Okay. And Lisa, it's a really great question. And I'm sad that you haven't been with us from the start, because these boards came from a number of conversations with the committee members and we did a municipal staff survey, which you can see in the drive. I can email you the link to that if you like, but it's saved into
I've reviewed it.
Okay, great. So there was like a little bit of crowdsourcing that was done already to kind of come up with these 3 motifs. And I think that our hunch is that somehow all 3 motifs will make their way into what comes about. But as Katie said, I think the goal is to get some refinement. And then once we have that, the storytelling will follow.
So is this designed to have people, all 3 of these posted or just one?
People are going to get to vote.
So on a single picture within the block or
on
just
one
the block itself?
On one set of the images. So they'll vote. We'll kind of put maybe a dot in each one to show people how they vote.
I'm interested to see if there's a hybrid of all 3 that could be put together, because I feel like, in each one of these, there's elements to my vision that would, make sense too. I don't know. Maybe it's not possible, but
I think what you're saying is also what we want people to feel. I I
So how do
think
they vote if they want something from each of them?
it kind of forces to think about more the feeling and the visual aspect than kind of the topics, I guess is what we're going for. If I think in the end it'll probably be a mixture, like we're saying, but maybe we get a little bit higher on the modern side, so we want to use some brighter colors, but we still want to stick with maybe a brighter blue and green, and then maybe kind of an older looking font. So it's kind of seeing what the hierarchy of these is as well. It's kind of the unfortunate enforcement of you have to pick one if you had to. But
I just don't want people to not vote because they don't like any of them.
yeah,
Well, then that's data too.
Yeah, and I mean, that's why we're opening this up now too, if people are concerned about any of these things and how we could address them if needed. But it's really that force choice. I mean, just kind of like in the surveys, we had some specific questions. So
Katie, is it possible for people to vote 1, 2, and 3 in other words, put them in order? This way, if you have people who an image feels right, but also you're going to have people who are dead set outdoors people. That's clear. You're going to have people dead set historians and history people who want people to come here for the history. Then you're going to have people that you want to come here for just for today, just for a 1 day thing. Because your first one is only come visit us for 1 day and then leave. That's what your first one says. But you could potentially have somebody who says, I like all three equally because I not only want to stay here for more than 1 day, I also like the history and I like the outdoors. But then you'll have people who will vote 1, 2, and 3, which is going to be the majority. But you'll have one or two who are going to say 1, 1, and 2 or 1, 1, and 1. At least this way, it doesn't force a feeling because if it was me, I would instinctively have to go with the outdoors one. If I only could choose one, I would instinctively go with the outdoors, but you'll never catch me outdoors. But I would go with the outdoors because I understand the true value of Belchertown is our outdoor nature. But I would never go outdoors. So if I'm forced to pick one, and that's the one I pick, but if I had a choice, I would actually pick number 2 and 3 equally, and then the first one would have my number 2. But if it's possible, I don't know if it is, but if it's possible to do it that way, if we could consider it.
yeah,
I like pieces of all three.
yeah, I think we could do a ranking. I think that opens it offers a bit more choice and kind of adds a new level to the data that people might be interested to see. Yeah, we could do that with like different colored dots or size dots. That could be
And keep
interesting.
in mind that this is not our only interactive board. The other interactive board is where we're asking for 1 or 2 words where folks describe. So, and Chris, I know just joined, we're talking about the interactive boards at the open house next week. One of them is going to be soliciting in a couple of words. What does the town mean to you? So someone might select the visual image of outdoors, but in their words say, it's a place that feels like home, or it's a place I love to visit, or the history and the charm is what keeps me coming back or keeps me staying here. So I hear you with the ranked choice, and I want to not overcomplicate things. Like from a user experience perspective, we would be giving people more work in terms of ranking and having to understand and come up with concepts for first, second, and third choice and figure out which dots go where. Like I do think that from a user experience perspective might be a little bit more complicated than put a dot with the one that resonates most. And we know it's hard. And then use your words in the post-it exercise to add anything else that you might be missing. So I'll defer to Katie on what's possible and going to give us the best data source. But I just wanted to remind everyone that we're also collecting information on the other board and through the survey.
I also would like to throw in, since you brought that up, I'd like to throw in this is going to be a rare opportunity where you have a lot of people who are interested because they're going to show up at the open house because they're interested. They're going to see this online because they're interested. So you don't have a whole lot going on at the open house based on the agenda that I've seen that would actually cause them to be overwhelmed by putting something in rank order if they choose to. They don't have to. They can pick number one, or if they can't decide, they can choose. I think sometimes when you have people's undivided attention and they're there for a reason, sometimes I think that can be an extreme benefit to give them the open opportunity.
I think the ranked order is also really important because we know that Belchertown has a history of mobilizing groups with certain desired outcomes to influence the way that surveys work for like what the rec puts out, what facilities people want in town and stuff like that. So if a group is mobilized to come to this, they might unfairly rank something higher than the town in general might have if we're just having a one single vote.
I think overall, this kind of is like a sounds like silly a bit, but a fun opportunity for the open house. And we have to remember that the majority of the data that we're going to gather is going to come from the survey, which is hopefully reaching a much broader audience. I would think about that, which also addresses many of these things. And then number two, I am still open to the ranking. I think it's a great idea as well. I think those number one ranks are going to end up being very obvious. Just like if they were to have only one choice, I think it'd be a little bit more apparent that they would equal out potentially. But like I said, I mean, I'm definitely open to both ways to do it. And if you all think that that's what's best for the town, then I don't see a reason not to, personally. But I think you're going to see similar data. I think ranking or just giving one from my experience. But I think it's a cool idea as well.
That survey is live now.
Yes.
Okay, I guess and forgive me, I haven't seen it anywhere on social media or anything. So
We're going to get into outreach on the survey, and we'll get into detail with that in the next section. But Jen, did you have something to add on the boards?
Yeah, sorry. I just want to, as a complete aside, the BCA, when they went through the mural project that they put on 6 Berkshire, did this exact work with Post-its, etc. So I don't know if that data set is still available through one of their members. I don't know if it would influence any of this, but it's some more data points that could be used.
Thanks, Jen. I do believe Maud shared it with us.
Awesome. Perfect.
I had another on this. I know there's like some tension in the town around like old versus new. And when I saw this, it was like new, old farming. And I don't like that could sway people's feelings based on like how they resonate with their personal experience, not necessarily like how Belchertown feels. I think it's easy to adjust maybe like that. The first one, the more dynamic modern, maybe just needs some photos of people who are not so youthful. Like the middle one does a good job of having the child with the chicken, but
Yeah.
I don't know. That's how I categorize these myself quickly.
I agree with
Molly,
that.
would you change the order in which we're presenting them?
Yeah, maybe put the outdoorsy one in the middle.
Yep.
I don't know if
Yeah.
it's the person on the tractor and the cow. Like I definitely got like farmer, but then there are a lot of just recreational outdoors photos. So maybe that was just me like seeing those two and feeling like it was much more about farming, which could exclude a lot of people because not everyone's a farmer.
And we could get a little bit less specific with these as well. I kind of tried this as a first go to show all of you with pretty specific imagery, but we could do a lot more just like patterns, textures, colors that don't necessarily show exactly what you're looking at. Molly, I'd be interested what you think about that, just with your design and anyone else's thoughts, of course, too. Because I can see both sides being helpful.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like the pattern in the middle column works nicely. Like the colors in the flowers on the left work pretty nicely to show the vibrancy. Yeah, maybe just a little less literal would be
Yeah.
good. Like even the house is like, I don't, yeah, I guess modern is the feeling, but it's like the newness of it all.
And Katie, maybe to address Nate's question for folks who might not be used to seeing mood boards, even just saying option 1, option 2, option 3 on top of it to differentiate and putting a black outline around them could be helpful.
Mm-hmm. They'll be separated, right? Like on different boards, or
they'll be on the same board. So these boards this is 36 inches wide and 24 high. So they're pretty large.
okay.
But we could always do separate boards. That kind of opens the door for even larger pictures that might show even more detail though. And that's where I worry in that way myself about them being nitpicky on the type of brick that, is there or something like that, potentially.
Yeah.
Well, just look at how much conversation it's stimulated among this group.
Yeah. Which is what. And honestly, a big part of this board isn't even the voting, it's the conversation of the people that go up to it with us and with themselves. We'll be listening to all of that, writing notes about all of that. That's really what the open house is for, right? Like, of course, this voting of this board will be very beneficial and very interesting, but the conversations that come from it will be even better.
So with the few tweaks that we've suggested for the board, I think that might be a good segue to go. And is there one more board that you want to share, Katie? And then we can transition to talking about roles.
I have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
What if, you label the boards 1, 2, and 3, and then in each of the boards, you can label each of the pictures as a B, C, or D, E, F, G. And you can have people choose what they like. And then you get compiled data from each 3, every 3, and maybe that you could take that data and put it together and see what the most votes were, from 1A to 3D to 2C. I don't know. Maybe that's thinking, dialing it down too much. But to have somebody make their own collage, because we all have collage makers on our phone. It's like.
I think from a branding perspective, that would be a nightmare. You don't.
Okay.
The visual is beautiful, but I think from a branding perspective, that would hurt.
And I completely get what you're saying. I think again, we go back to the conversations. Even like Molly, she was like, "Well, I see farmer, but I'm not a farmer," or like there are people that aren't farmers. They're going to say that out loud when they're at the board themselves, so we can keep track of that. Up here, we might not get a lot of farming. I'm just sticking with that as the topic, but maybe it's all community and the town hall and farming is just completely out. So again, like that idea, but how much is too much sometimes?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just a thought process, just.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. Okay, yeah. So what Danielle said, I'll make those tweaks to these boards. That was super helpful. This is the part that I was hoping was going to be the most conversational. This last part, again, these are already on the website in the branding FAQ. So as far as that, it's kind of is what it is. Interestingly enough, obviously, none of these are the correct one. So we were thinking whoever was at this board could have people vote and then be like, haha, we got you, and kind of explain why we're doing this. That was our idea. Take it with a grain of salt if you're into it, or if you're not. We can definitely change it up.
I actually had a similar idea like that with the website, to build out like the which of these ones is the correct one. And then when they like vote on it or on the website, it's like, nope, that's actually incorrect. None of these are it. So I personally like that idea. I have a couple paper copies of the official seal, the stamp. I won't be there at the event, so I can maybe meet with somebody and pass this on to them so that we can have those in display or available to like kind of show off,
That'd be
and
awesome.
help kind of like get people to recognize, you know, what the struggle is here and why we're trying to change that.
I think we have to be
So
careful how we say that because, you know, if it's just an update versus a change, you know, or
correct, yeah.
you know, and then clarifying the exact seal that has to be carefully placed only because, you know, there's been so much discussion about it.
Right.
And if we're just using this to attract attention, well, that's one thing. You know, if you need to put this out there to, you know, stimulate or at least get some folks to recognize it on social media, well, that's a conversation starter.
Um,
Yeah, I think
Relevant.
a lot of this is conversation starting too. So yeah, I agree. I hear you.
so I would also just run that last one by Terry at the town clerk's office. Just so that she could get like it's all gonna be in the town hall, it's all gonna be like on government space, but uh uh like she's explained to me that we have to be very, very careful about using the town seal and when it's allowed to be posted anywhere. Even the images that I said I would provide, the um the stamps, we have to be like super careful not to let those like disappear, right? And have to have them like,
Yep.
you know, yes, we could show them, but it has to be collected back and
Maybe
ensure
just
that it
one.
doesn't go anywhere. Yeah. So, um, yeah, I think it's a good idea to, and I think she's on this call, but I don't want to like pull her in on these meetings, especially because we do it already. But let's double check with her and make sure that that's everything's good to go.
For
I'll
sure.
send that email, Chris. And in the event that it's not, I think it's still valuable, even the narrative of like, none of these are the official seal. And the official seal is actually, you know, what is the purpose? How is it used? Even that conversation, as Katie has been chatting about, is going to be helpful. And if we can have one copy of it on hand that like Katie is holding or one of you is holding and sharing about, and then in charge of giving back to Terry at the end of the event or putting it in her office at the end of the event, I think that would be really powerful. But I will follow up with her by email after this just to clarify what is possible. But with that, I think it would be really helpful to chat about everyone's role and
Like,
yep.
Can I ask one question before, or Chris, Nate, I'm sorry, you go ahead.
Go ahead, Lisa.
I just have one question in reference to when I came to Massachusetts back in, I don't know, 2003 timeframe. The town seal was the town logo. But and throughout the entire time I've been here, whether it's the stuff my mom did at the church, the stuff my dad did with the town, it was always the logo. They call it the seal, some call it the logo. But is there something that I'm missing? Because I tried to read all the notes and the information, and I may have missed something in
So
reference to, go ahead.
So the town doesn't actually have a logo right now.
But
So
people have used it as a logo, is what I'm asking.
So yeah, so the official seal is not often used as a logo because we don't have a digital version of the official seal. There have been creative versions of the seal that are online that are sometimes used as a logo. And the graphic image of the sign entering Belchertown, that sign is often sometimes used as a logo as well, but there is not an official town logo. And yes, versions of the seal, which are not the official seal that people have just created independently, have sometimes been used as a logo. But the reason for this project is that there can be a logo that unifies the town and really articulates a brand that has not yet been articulated. So that's the creative project of branding Belchertown project. And then
Right.
there's sort of a logistical part of the project, which is digitizing the seal that already exists so that is accessible, that folks can use it for official purposes only, but not necessarily use it as a logo. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, and I understood why this was established. I asked the question because you talk in the talked to a couple of people, and in the press release you listed that this is our first ever logo, but people have used the town seal, like you said, their creative version of the town seal nonetheless, as the logo. So that's why I was confused, because I know that as long as I've been here, the town seal, the replicas, whatever you want to call them, have always been considered by some as a logo. So maybe putting that out as we go through this, when you're doing in the beginning part of the town hall, just one or two sentences. So, because I know that there were people that I talked to who were very offended that the article had said it was the first, and it hadn't even gone out. I had just happened to mention it's the first one. I had always thought we had a logo, and so it just, the way I
That's
phrased it, I
great.
think it caused people.
No, that's great
So-
feedback, Lisa. Maybe that can come in the board that says why a logo, Katie. I think it's like the second or the third board. Maybe you can add a line
I
there.
think it's also important to mention that, like, while I think the town has been very lax about it, there are very strict laws against using a town seal outside of actual government practice. I saw examples of calendars that the town clerk showed me that the town actually produced, and underneath images of the seal it said this seal is with approval of the select board and the town clerk. If they didn't have that, then it would have actually been illegal. Terry mentioned in a case somebody running for select board was using the town seal for some of their promotional stuff a few years back, and they actually had to write a cease and desist and make them stop, because you're not allowed to use that stuff out of government use. So actually, if the churches are using it and other groups are using it, they're actually breaking the rules for it as well, and they shouldn't be. So but a logo doesn't carry those same laws. The logo can kind of be used throughout. Obviously, again, if some other company is like, mass producing marketing materials or trying to make a ton of money using our logo, we want to cease and desist it. But it's something that, like, yes, maybe the churches in town can use it. Yes, the schools can use it. Yes, like other groups can use it without necessarily having to ask for permission to do so, or without being fined if they do it anyway.
I wonder if we can separate logo and seal, like not include information about the seal in the what is a logo for section, and then on the seal board just say, what is a seal for? It is not a logo. It is for these purposes only. It is registered with state, like very clear distinction.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here and ask the question as to why would we want to attract more attention to the seal if all we're doing is digitizing it and it's a point of logistical concern. There's so many rules and regulations around when you can use it, where you can use it, and how you can use it. And there's so much controversy and I won't say controversy, but discussion about the seal itself. Why are we leading with a 6 photo thing of which one is which? You know what I mean? It's something that if all we're doing is updating it, then we should lead with the actual logo, instead of spending a bunch of time talking about the seal, because you'll waste time in that realm and having to defend what you're only doing as a logistical update, so to speak. And I think that has to be clear because we're going to sit here and go around and round and round with people arguing about which logo, I mean, which seal is which, when it's a moot point because we're not changing it. We're just updating
But
it.
it still has to be voted on at town meeting, right?
No,
Not if it's not being changed.
no changes, no vote.
Yeah, so I talked with the town clerk about this. So we need to get to the bottom of this because we've already said we're going to go to warrant, and Steve Williams, the town administrator, has said he would like it to go to town warrant just to be sure and to get everything taken care of. But the town clerk, Terry, has said that if there is no changes and if that we are making a digital replicant of the town seal, then she can just approve it. She has the authority to do that, and that we don't have to go through any other process.
Well, what's considered a change? Like, are we starting with the piece of metal that has no color and then we add color? Is that a change?
Adding color is a change. But if we just take the piece of metal and we just turned it into a black and white line art version of the seal, then we don't have to do anything.
I'll add my 2 cents with the change portion. I think no matter what, there will be some, it might be extremely slight, but there will have to be some change when we're taking something from a physical into a digital, even if that's just, thickening up lines so that they actually appear.
Sure.
Whether that's, moving from a handwritten font to an actual font that can be used that's very, very similar or as close as we can get. So I would lean towards that side of things. And then kind of to talk to Nate's point, I think that devil's advocate is a great point, but I think that it draws back on exactly what Lisa said about some people being offended if we didn't even talk about the seal when talking about the logo, that they'd, think, well, why is that not even part of this conversation? So I think that's the root of why we're having it at the open house, and then leading into what Chris was saying, I think any change will very, very slight changes will happen because they have to, even if that's just increasing font size, so that, if it's all the exact same, it can be seen small.
I think there has to be clarity because, obviously, with changes, how much license is there? Or update, how much license is there to do this? And just for another note, the deadline for the warrants for the town meeting is tomorrow.
Doug, can you weigh in?
And so I think, as far as how much latitude or license is available, on a quote unquote update, that needs to be.
So I have requested many, many, many times that we just do the warrant process. And if the change is minimal, such that it does not need to be voted on and approved, it can be shown and it can be named that Terry approved it. I know that Kate was in alignment with that in a conversation that we had, and Steve was in alignment with that. And I was going to start the warrant process myself, and Doug kindly offered to step in and manage that process for us. So I just wanted to hear if there was an update on that front. I know that Terry was on that email and replied that a warrant was not necessary, but Doug, I don't know if you're there, if you can share any updates on the warrant.
Well, that's kind of where I left it when Terry said it was not necessary. I figured, well, why do something unnecessary and complicate it that way? Because something like bringing this to town meeting would probably cause some kind of, would agitate a lot of people, probably. Who knows? Or they would say, why didn't we know about this? Which we often hear here at town meeting, no matter how we publicize things. So I'm not really sure if it's not necessary.
So the thing is, we're not going to know if it's necessary until after it's done.
Yeah.
And if we have the warrant, can we withdraw it from the conversation if it's not necessary? I was under the impression that we could do that.
Yeah. You could always take no action, that kind of thing.
So
would it be
as
a safety, I think.
Okay, then I will proceed.
Thank you, Doug.
It's pretty simple. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Thank you, Doug.
Sure.
I feel going back to the information then, I feel like it's important to have information available to people. Maybe it's less interactive and more just informational. Like this is what we're doing, and the display is really to just show the problem that we're solving and that we're ensuring going forward we don't continue to have this proliferation of versions. Like we're just preserving the history in the best possible way. And, here's what's happening that we're, trying to rectify. And not, I feel like the stickers could be like, which one do you like? If people aren't paying attention. So it could just be more of an informational poster.
I think that's a great feedback, Molly. And Katie, if you're up for just changing that into informational and having the conversation be around the fact that none of them are the seal, then we can focus on that. But we are running out of time, so I just want to be mindful of that and ask if we have committee members who are going to be present at the meeting. Now that you have a sense of what all of the boards will do, we would love to have folks stationed at each board, engaging with folks, listening to conversation, participating in conversations. Just based on what I know of y'all, I took a stab at assigning boards, but I want to open up to where you want to be. For town history, I immediately thought Nate and Ed. For what a logo can do, I thought Nicole and Maureen would be great ambassadors. For the interactives, I thought since there are quite a few of them, Molly, Lisa, and Kate might be good ambassadors there. And then for the seal conversation, I thought Jen and Doug. But I leave it to you all you can decide and email me. You can weigh in now. If you're able to be there, if you're not able to be there, all of that will weigh in. We can also decide the night of, and you can lay claim on whichever board you'd like to chat about, but wanted to have conversation about that briefly.
I'm fine. Wherever you put me, I'll be there.
Fantastic, Lisa.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Same for me.
Sounds good.
Ed, I don't think you get a choice. You get history.
Okay.
History or seal, whichever you can go back and forth.
I'm only going to be there till about 6:45, 6:50. Then I'm going to have to leave.
Okay. That's totally fine. Thank you. All right.
I have a quick question. Sorry, I have a very quick question. Because I won't be there, I have a quick question on recording information. Are we planning on like videotaping anything or audio recording anybody's responses or anything like that? Or are we just going to be taking notes and writing stuff down and trying to get like an idea of things?
I would lean towards notes.
Just notes? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I was going to say I could always reach out to like BCTV and see if we can borrow some of their equipment.
I want to say Lou said he was going to be there from BCTV, so maybe we want to follow up with him to see if that's actually the case or not.
Okay, I'm not sure if he's actually recording or not, but
yeah, I did send Esther some information about it too.
We do have to post an agenda for this meeting, the meet and greet and everything.
So I thought this was not an official committee meeting, so we don't need an agenda. Is that?
I was just informed that we have to post agenda.
Yeah. It can be super small.
Because there's quorums involved.
Yeah. It can be call to order, go through the presentation or like discuss the logo with town members and then closing the meeting. And it could just be that. So it doesn't have to be anything special or anything, but we do technically need one.
Okay.
And I can post that today. I can send that to the clerk and have it done.
Thank you, Chris. I'm happy to open a Zoom room and have it record, but I don't know what the quality of audio will be if we're people are milling about.
I wouldn't bother.
Sound good.
Okay. So Danielle or Katie, have you anything more to go through on the project update?
Yeah, so I mean, these are just our goals for, spending time at the open house. It's just talking to folks, making sure they feel welcome, sharing why you're excited about the project. listening to what folks love most about the town so that you can relay it back to Katie, and observing any common themes or trends that come up, and, you know, drumming up excitement, listening, and building trust is really our primary goal for the open house. In terms of outreach for the open house, I did want to flag for folks that the press release went out, and as I said in email, the Sentinel is covering the open house and the survey, and I believe the Gazette might pick it up as well. Kate has been doing an amazing job getting this all over social media, and I did email you all the Facebook event link. So I would just encourage you all as ambassadors to the project to, if you're active, if you're not active, I don't mean for you to go crazy posting, but, you know, comment, engage, share things that you see Kate posting on social media, and also take the survey since you have the link to do so. I didn't know if anyone wanted to provide any updates on flyering last night and how that went.
So we did put out the flyers Monday night at our meeting.
Yes.
With how contentious the meeting was, we didn't feel like putting them on every chair or anything like that was a great idea. So we put a stack of them at the meeting entrances so people could grab them next to the agendas if they wanted. And then I also left more copies upstairs in the town hall so employees and the people visiting the town hall can see them. And then I'm going to be dropping those flyers off that we talked about at the library, the rec center, and the senior center for distribution to the people that stop by there too in the next day or so.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Kate. And if anyone would like to, you know, assist with flyering, Kate, can folks pick up a stack from you so that you're not, I'm happy to pick up a stack from you as well. I know you printed them out for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I can let Melissa and Pam over in the Finnerty House know that people may be stopping by to pick up some flyers. And that way they can have them ready if people are looking for them.
Amazing. Thank you.
Sorry, is the flyer about the event, or is it the survey, or both?
So it is it's about both. It uses that same imagery that we saw online for the Facebook event that I created for it, so people could RSVP for coming and get out word of mouth that way. So there's information about stopping by for the meeting for the open house, as well as the QR code. And then on the flip side is the timeline graphic that Katie and Danielle put together that kind of shows how this project and the wayfinding project are weaved together and when people are going to start seeing more coming through for this.
Okay. I'd be happy to spread some around.
Excellent.
Thanks, Molly. So in addition to flyering, the last outreach strategy that I'm using is an email. I'm emailing various amplifiers. So I'm just sending notes out. I know Kate is as well, but I would encourage you all, if you know that there are email listservs that you're on, or folks that are really good at getting the word out, to let them know. I would especially ask Nicole and Jen to let your constituents know. If you have an email list or other ways that you're communicating with them on a regular basis, that would be really helpful, so that we can have a good turnout on Wednesday. Any other thoughts on outreach?
Is there any sort of poster material that could be put on bulletin boards around town? Not that we have very many, but
I can easily make the graphics that I have into poster sizes. I just don't have the ability to print those at town hall. So someone would have to be able to print them and pick them up.
I just mean, something in the way of either is it 8.5 by 11?
Yeah.
That could be put on a bulletin board, say at Pine Valley, or say, or in the post office, or.
Yeah, so those flyers are already 8.5 by 11, the handouts. So yeah, those could definitely be hung up as well.
That might be a thought just for the folks that aren't social media oriented, that, may have an opportunity to see it.
Kate, are we able to put those in the town clerk's office or somewhere that folks in this committee can go and pick up some, if they feel like they want to go to a certain store or post office, like Nate said, and put those up for people? or for
Yeah,
our,
so there's definitely some like that you can just go and grab out of town hall right now. Like there's plenty left in the auditorium, and then there's some upstairs on the second floor, on the big long table there where, and they're also posted on the message board there. I didn't put two and two together until just now. But they're limited copies, so I definitely need to print out more, if people are going to be going to pick them up. I'd only printed 100 to start with, and we probably went through like half of them already. So even if 5 people went and picked up 5 copies, that already brings us down to like 25 left. So
Maybe the Finnerty House or something. There should be some there too.
yeah, that's what I was saying. I can make them available at the Finnerty House for you guys to go and pick up.
Okay.
I have time this afternoon. I can grab some, and I've done this for the BCC. Like, so I'll just say, so nobody else is going to like also do this. Stop and Shop, library. Oh my God, I just had a brain melt. Senior
No.
Center. um,
Pine Valley Post Office.
the post office. No, I'm forgetting the other ones. Okay, I've got 4. I feel like I had more.
How about
Well,
transfer?
when you go to the senior center, stop off at your veterans office. She'll be happy to put it up.
The veterans office over there?
Senior-
Okay.
Yeah, it's in the senior center now.
How about transfer station?
Okay.
Or
Rec
even
department.
1 or 2 at the police station and the fire station, just so that they're informed.
Does anybody know if you need permission to put something on the bulletin board in the Pine Valley Post Office? Do you have to get permission from the front office, I think?
I got that on my list to call and ask if we can either put it in the bins that are here or if we can put it on their bulletin board inside or in the post office. So I do have it on my list to ask the question.
Is Pine Valley Post Office different than the post office like on the main street?
Yes.
We have a distribution one here.
Ah, okay. I'll do the other post office.
Thank you, Molly.
Okay,
And
so I've got
Kate,
one for
Kate,
Woodbury.
when do you know, are those are you gonna email Finnerty House for those to be available this afternoon?
I'm gonna literally go there and talk
Okay.
to them
Amazing.
within a minute. Yep.
Amazing. Thank you, Kate, and thank you, Molly. Okay, so that's it for outreach. I would just encourage you to help get the word out, and then we'll resume our conversation around peer communities next time, because we're short on time. But some of you have emailed us thoughts on peer brands, peer communities, something to just keep thinking about in the back of your mind. I think, Katie, anything else that folks need to know for your visit?
No, and for the peer communities, we'll send that sheet as well, so you can just hold off until you get that. But no, I think I'm just excited to actually meet you all in person.
Me too.
Okay.
Thanks,
So
everyone.
moving on, have we got any other topics to come before the committee? Oh,
Yes.
Chris.
One thing I just want to throw in there is this has been brought up before. The hybrid meeting law just today has been passed by the state house, needs to go to the Senate and be approved. But they are looking, it looks very good that the hybrid meeting laws are going to be extended another 2 years. No official decision yet, but it's been passed today in the House. We will know by Thursday.
I spoke to Aaron Saunders before the meeting today, and he kind of reiterated the same thing, but nothing signed yet. And that I not quite sure how that affects. I mean, I guess we could continue as we are right now, but with the understanding that we might have to commandeer a meeting room if nothing changes.
Yeah. The article I have does say it's going to, and I'll email this to everybody. Thursday, we should know for sure whether or not it's going to be approved or not.
Okay. Well, and that'll give us time to adjust if we have to for the next meeting, which was something else that I was going to bring up. So that takes care of that. Is there anything else in the new business or anything like that?
So coming back to that, I would ask if under the current schedule, which would be what, Wednesday, April 2nd, It's currently scheduled at noontime. Do we have a quorum that actually could meet in person? If it became necessary?
We can do scheduling by email if we need to. So if for whatever reason the extension doesn't pass and we do need to do an in-person meeting, I think we could, if we're not able to do an in-person quorum on the 2nd, we could reschedule that meeting if that sounds okay to folks.
I think we can adjust on the run if we have to. I don't know how far out we have to reserve meeting rooms and such, but or whether that's a scramble for the folks at the Finnerty
It's
House.
first come, first serve.
Okay. All right. Well, at this point, I think, waiting for tomorrow's Thursday. So, right? Is that what you're talking about, Chris? That being,
Yeah, actually, I forgot. Man, I'm still on Tuesday. Yeah, tomorrow it should be finalized.
Okay. All right. So, next section of the meeting, just moving on to keep time. I know we're a little over, so I apologize. We do have a letter to the committee. Unfortunately, I can't pull that up on my screen. Kate, have you got a copy of that?
I don't have a copy that I can pull up on my, I have a copy, but I'm not in a position where I can pull it up right now, unfortunately.
Okay. I can try. Let's see. I can do this. Maybe I can share this. So we have, can you see that?
No.
Not yet.
It says I'm
There it is.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I don't get bigger. Forgive me. Oh, there we go. We can make it bigger. So we had a letter to the committee submitted through the website, I guess, Kate. And I'll just read it. It says, this is a Belchertown resident. It says, nobody buys a house here because of a pretty town seal. They buy houses in Belchertown because of the amazing school system. And yet the fat cats at town hall keep inflating their own budgets while starving the schools. The prettiest seal and logo in the world can't make up for the fact that town mismanagement has led us to being in the news as, quote, the town that is so broke they need to cut educational services, unquote. I respect your civic engagement and generosity you've showed in volunteering time for a time-consuming committee, but I fear that town hall has ensured that your efforts will amount to nothing. No amount of branding will counteract negative perceptions stemming from this very public budget battle, and you can't erase the spectacle of hundreds of residents begging their elected leaders to raise taxes to support education. This never happened under Gary. That this was sent to the website, and of course, as a public meeting, we are sharing it with you all.
Yeah, so just to clarify that, someone used the suggestion box on the website to send that message in about the logo and the branding committee. So it wasn't like an email received by any one person. It was put in as an anonymous suggestion,
Okay.
in which case it was forwarded to Nate as the chair of the committee, and then Chris as the clerk, so we can attach a copy of it to our minutes.
Okay.
And actually, I think that it's a good thing they did. Because believe it or not, from a branding perspective, it's actually a perfect opportunity, because that's actually why branding is so important and getting the word out is so important. It's not about getting the logo. It's about the whole branding of Belchertown, because if our town elected officials start getting in people into our community and getting more people into our community, the money will be there for the school systems. There's a lot of issues, not just with the school systems, but so much more. So it's about highlighting the true value of branding of any town or community, because without it, I can tell you, I walked down to Belchertown. The only reason I joined this committee is because I know how important this town was to my mom and my dad. Wasn't important to me. I don't walk around here very much. I go other places besides Belchertown. But I'm thinking they're gone now, so I better step up a little bit and do something for the town I've been living in for 20 years. But I think it's important that people understand the true value of what branding can do from an economic standpoint to also improve school systems and so on. So I think having that in the back of the head is a good thing to have.
That's a good point. Okay, so is there any public comments at this time? 3, 2, 1. Hearing none, we'll move on. Next meeting time, April 2nd at noon. Is that the correct time?
That's
We're
correct
talking
for our
about-
official committee meeting, and then we will see folks also, and there will be an agenda posted for the event next Wednesday, which
Okay,
will start
now,
at 6.
I think we might need to clarify too. So who's going to be and are there enough committee members traveling with this group that's going to go around town that would represent a quorum, or do we have to have any sort of? I think we need to make sure.
So, if I may,
Yes.
If you don't know, for those that don't know, I'm the chair of the Conservation Commission. And one of the rules that we have to work under is quite often we have to do site visits, and more than likely it involves a full quorum. We do not have to post those meetings, because if we are going there simply for input of information and there's no deliberation, no discussion during this site visit, in other words, it's just simply an intake of information and observation, ask questions of the applicant. But other than that, nothing, the deliberations take place during the meeting. That
Okay.
is permissible.
Okay. I just wanted that as a point of clarity so that so that we're not getting in trouble any way, shape, or form. Okay.
However, I would caution that following next Wednesday, that when everybody else goes down to the end of the common for refreshments, dinner, whatever, that more than likely a quorum should not follow them down there.
Okay. And then Chris, you're going to write up the agenda for the open house.
Yep, just about done already.
Okay. Okay. All right. So at this point, I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
Okay, that's Chris Martin. Call for a vote.
Ed Knight, aye.
Lisa Ducharme, aye.
Molly Robinson, aye.
Chris Martin, aye.
Shattuck, aye. So moved. Thank you, folks. Appreciate the time.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Aye.
Everyone.